Welcome back to Window on Wall Street, a program that shares information about delayed food sensitivities. Sensitivities that may cause symptoms like migraine headaches, chronic fatigue, stress, digestive issues such as IBS, and even ADD, ADHD, just to mention a few. I'm Lauren Koenig, your host, and in today's program, we'll be taking questions from patients who have invested in an Immuno blood print, a simple blood test that identifies foods which could be the cause of many symptoms. My guest today is Jeffrey Zavik, author of the very popular book, Toxic Food Syndrome, and the founder of Immuno Laboratories, the world's most respected source for accurate delayed food allergy test results. Welcome, Jeffrey.
Thank you.
Now, Jeffrey, tell us a little bit about the Immuno blood print.
The blood print is unique to you, just like your fingerprint. But there's a difference. The fingerprint is fixed. You're born with it. It never changes. Your blood print actually can be changed based upon the life you live and the foods that you're eating. So the exciting thing is that if your blood print isn't super healthy right now, you can actually change it by choices that you make.
Very nice. Now, how often can that change?
It can change actually within a matter of months. And what we do is a test that will actually pinpoint what your blood print is, which foods are right for you, which foods are not right for your system, not in harmony in your system. As you make changes within your diet, we can remeasure that blood print and find it changing and improving over time.
This is Mark from Chicago. Yeah, I'm having some real migraine headache issues. And I took my Immuno blood print, and I've got several positives on my test results, but I'm just a bit confused. Can you help me with these migraine headaches? They're just so debilitating.
Yes, in fact, the blood print is the first thing that is important to do. So it's good that he has that, the caller has that being done, pinpointing which foods are causing or aggravating a migraine headache. Now, migraines are no small matter, and you want to work under the supervision of a skilled doctor. In my own experience, having had migraine headaches, which are extremely debilitating, they're very tiring, they're very painful, they're very upsetting to one's daily function. What I found was that initially, a mainstream doctor had suggested that I be on this purple pill, which was helping me initially. But what I found was actually, instead of having too much acid in my blood that I had to bring down with the purple pill, I had a personal trainer recommend to me do the opposite. And so I started taking this betaine hydrochloric acid, this supplement, over-the-counter supplement, and I found everything improved dramatically. So I'm not suggesting that's the answer, but I am saying sometimes what you think or what you initially find you should do might be even the opposite of what actually works. Third thing that's really important is food combining. Now, some people seem to have stomachs of iron. That is, you can eat just about anything. I don't know about you, not me either. I am a delicate kind of a guy. And so what happens is when I eat foods that are in poor combination, it makes it more difficult to digest. People who can eat anything can't understand this. But in my case, I have to keep things like fruits and sweets away from proteins. So basically, you want to keep your high proteins away from your high carbohydrates, generally speaking. But again, this kind of information can be found on our website and through your physician in terms of proper food combining.
Now, Jeffrey, sometimes you can get mixed information from your trainer or your doctor, and even after reading the blood print, that can get really overwhelming. How do you deal with that, and kind of what do you do? It
really can be, and you know, it is confusing because you can read experts that say eat this way, eat only protein in the morning. Other experts says eat only fruit in the morning, and it gets to be like, well, what do I do? Honestly, I think ultimately we have to take responsibility for our own health, and we have to take the best advice that we can find, do our own research. Thank goodness we have the internet where you can really get a lot of information rather quickly, and then let your own body be your own guide to a great extent. In my own experience, that's what I have found. What works for me, and ultimately then what may in fact work for other people.
And it sounds like the blood print is a great place to start, since it's really natural and you're not bringing in more medications, and it seems like a good place to start.
Right, we think about it. You're eating something or drinking something 3 to 5 times a day. And wouldn't that be important? And the other question is, wouldn't you want to know, even if just one food that was affecting how you're feeling, causing or aggravating a migraine headache or another condition, wouldn't you want to know what that food is?
Definitely,
of course.
Yeah.
And that's why it's so important to do it.
Now, Jeffrey, in your research for your book, you have a lot of success stories. Do you have one that you can share about migraine headaches?
Actually, I do. There's quite a few. The one that comes to mind, though, is that I was actually raising our children in a small town in North Carolina. And because it was a small town, many people expressed interest. What do you do? What do you? Because it wasn't working there as such. And when we would talk about the food testing that we're doing and how it would have an impact, it interested many people. Well, one particular woman who had been suffering with migraine headaches for over 10 years, a lot of pain, a lot of misery,
It's a long time.
heard that and got herself tested. And the migraine headaches of 10 years were resolved, not just in the blood print, but what I mentioned earlier, the food combining. Those two things combined. Stopped eating certain foods that were causing a toxic effect within her body, and then started to adhere to the food combining plan, which is part of the support that we provide people that begin our program, especially if you have migraine headaches. We highly recommend that. Lady was migraine free. Her doctor was absolutely shocked. I mean, it just, for the average mainstream medical doctor, it just doesn't seem to be possible, but it speaks for itself.
Thank you, Jeffrey. We've got Dr. Mikkel Parsons standing by with some alternative food ideas. Dr. Parsons, any thoughts for our caller?
Wow, migraines, they are horrible. They stop you in your tracks. You lose your quality of life. There is no joy with a migraine. So what do? What are some common things that can contribute to a migraine? One is a wine. Now, sometimes the sulfites in wines are the big triggers, but you could also be allergic to the type of fruit that the wine is made from. So if grapes are a sensitivity, then maybe you could try a pomegranate wine. There are other types, like a plum wine. But another little thing that I have found with some of my patients is when they search out and find an organic wine. Now, organic wines, typically it's not going to say that on the label, but if you go to the facility that you get your wines from and talk to them, they are going to be more familiar with the wines that tend to lean more towards organic growing. So that might be something to do when you are adding it back in. Remember, you want to be off of this for 90 days. One of my personal triggers, because I was one of those migraine sufferers, and man, was I not nice to my mother at the time, was chocolate. I lived for chocolate, and that's all I thought about, literally, because with these sensitivities also comes an addiction component. I am a walking example of what that was. But if you switch from chocolate to carob, then that is something that typically is not going to be a trigger of a migraine. It tastes a little different, but when you go from nothing to maybe having another option, we tend to be appreciative of what we can have. Cheeses can also be a big factor. Kind of the rule of thumb, the darker the cheese, the more you want to stay away from it. And read the labels, be aware of what you're doing as far as the dairy aspect. But those grab-and-go foods, those are the ones that tends to get us into trouble, because when we're stressed, we don't plan, we get caught up in whatever it is kind of freaking us out, and we're grabbing foods that we typically wouldn't want to eat. That's why having those emergency foods that you have either in your purse, briefcase, or in your car are going to be really important, because that too, in and of itself, the stress can be a trigger of those darn migraines.
Thanks, Dr. Parsons, and to you, Jeffrey Zavik. We'll continue with Window on Wall Street after the break, but may I encourage those of you watching who may have a family member, friend, coworker experiencing similar health issues to forward this video to them. And if you haven't had your immuno blood print, please learn more and get yourself tested. I did. Remember, there's a hidden link between what you eat and how you feel. I'm Lauren Koenig, and we'll be right back.